you in line. Here I come, Noah. Do your worst.
We live in a truly fascinating time. When we're not being bombarded by woke opinions in gaming, it's dozens upon dozens of hot takes about how Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is the best RPG of all time over the last, forever, including the original game that it was based on. That's really hot of a take. But in between the barrage of bad takes, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, a glimmer of hope. Retro revival RPGs that are actually well made and act as spiritual successors instead of trying to be the next better version of an original game. I'm not totally opposed to the notion of the retro revival title, especially if they're done with passion and not, a blatant cash grab. Even when the game is funded on Kickstarter, as long as the developer is doing this because they actually believe in what they're making, then I can usually be swayed to that point of view. Now, don't get me wrong, this has 100% bitten me in the ass before. Out of the 3 games I've ever backed on Kickstarter, board games not included, one was Yooka-Laylee, which was just kinda overall, and the other one crashed and burned so damn hard, leaving the backers with a big old pile of nothing. That game was called Cryamore. So when I heard that there was going to be a spiritual successor to one of the all-time classic RPGs, yeah, I was skeptical for a hot minute. I don't know what persuaded me to back the game at the time, especially for being a 2-copy tier for a game that's a spiritual successor to a series that I've never touched in my life. But as development went on, I started noticing that the team was being open and super communicative with everyone on Kickstarter, and it really made me feel solid about my choice. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is the premier title developed by the team at Rabbit and Bear Studios and published by 505 Games. The big draw for Eiyuden Chronicle was its director, and for good reason. The game was headed up by Yoshitaka Murayama, creator of Suikoden and Suikoden 2 during his time at Konami, and is composed of industry veterans from across the Suikoden series. I mean, if you're gonna claim to be the spiritual successor to one of the most highly rated RPGs of all time, you better have the pedigree to back it up. Eiyuden Chronicle was announced on July 27th, 2020, and went into the funding phase that very same day. The funding window would be open until August 29th, with a goal of 500,000 USD. This goal would be absolutely obliterated in the first 3 hours, going on to raise an absolutely freaking bonkers $4.5 million in total. This places the campaign as the 3rd highest funded video game in Kickstarter history, behind Shenmue 3 and Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. This was absolutely insane to see happen, considering that I keep hearing about the age of 2D RPGs being dead and gone. I guess there are more fans of the genre out there than I could have ever expected. So as I mentioned, I backed 2 copies of Eiyuden Chronicle at the time, and I chose for my digital copies one on PC and one on Switch, because my PC is kind of my go-to experience when it comes to playing games on stream and recording, and the Switch is just my handheld JRPG machine at this point. The PC copy is pretty damn solid overall, as one would expect. The Switch port, however, performance was pretty lacking when the game was initially released. There have been patches that have dropped to help fix some of the performance, instead of random encounters taking 10 seconds to load and the menu taking 5 seconds to open up, it now takes about 3 seconds to load into a battle and maybe a second and a half to open the menu. It's getting better. It could be a lot better, but the game is it's under a month old at the point of recording this video, so there's gonna be more changes as time goes on. There's going to be more updates. It did kind of bum me out though after reading a post on Reddit about how the Switch port was not technically supposed to exist. I guess they were planning on it being the next Nintendo hardware that they were going to be developing for, but because Nintendo has kept the Switch going for 7 years at this point, yeah, it ended up being on the Switch. So as I mentioned, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes hit store shelves on the 23rd of April, 2024. I, along with several other backers at the time, got super early access. I think it was 72 hours on the Switch, which meant that we got to pour dozens of hours of gameplay into this before others did, and since I don't read a lot of reviews, it was really nice for me to be able to get my hands on it early so that I could start formulating opinions for this video instead of having to do it months after the game is released. From the moment I started the game, I was absolutely smitten. The hand-drawn 2D sprite work and immersive, richly detailed world ooze with a charm and character that alone kept me playing into the wee hours of the morning for the first few days. Every corner of the environment is meticulously crafted and tells a story, inviting you to investigate and explore every nook and cranny. Honestly, one of the big reasons that I fall into JRPGs all the time is because of the world building elements. When I have the ability to wander around in any map and just see the level of detail that goes into it, like they've built a world, it's one of my all-time favorite things. It's also why I've fallen into the hole of Brandon Sanderson's works of fiction recently, because the man put so much time and effort into crafting every meticulous detail about the world that, like, I have no words. I'm 2 books in on the Stormlight Archive. Someone help. At the heart of Eiyuden Chronicle are its characters, a colorful cast of more than 100 heroes to recruit, each with unique personalities, backstories, and abilities. It honestly feels like assembling a family more than it does an adventuring party sometimes because of the way the relationships can build. Now, this isn't going to be like a Tales of Symphonia or any Tales game level of RPG where you're gonna have like super in-depth emotional moments with every character, because there's over 100. Have you ever tried keeping up with 100 friends? It is near impossible. So of course you're gonna have some characters that are kind of like a core cast, and most that are like a relegated side characters. And that's okay. By the way, it should be noted, and I don't know really a better place in the video to talk about this, but Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is 100% a spiritual successor. It's not a sequel to Suikoden. It's not set in the same continuity. There's no connections, maybe other than cameos that, you know, I don't recognize if they are in there because I haven't played the originals, but the game is its own thing. It is not trying to be something it's not. The game is the spiritual successor, and compared to all the other games out there I've played that are spiritual successors to classic hits, I think it hits the nail on the head. Gameplay-wise, the mechanics manage to strike a balance between RPGs of the past and more modern innovations. Seeing turn-based battles come back in a big way these last few years has also been incredibly refreshing, so I'm glad that Eiyuden Chronicle continues that trend. One point worth noting is the addition of an auto battle system. You can select this option at the beginning of battles and let your characters just absolutely run wild. And no matter the composition, you always got something unique and exciting happening. It also really saves time if you're just trying to grind out levels instead of having to pick through the menu over and over. Just hit auto battle and let them do their own thing. If you build them smart enough, they'll be able to figure out mechanics. Characters utilize standard attacks and magic skills, but they also have these really cool techniques called union skills, which are powerful cooperative abilities that can be unleashed by combining the strengths of multiple party members. Union skills are super cool and help me break out of the routine play style that I usually employ and experiment with different party compositions and synergies. It actually really reminds me of Tales of Symphonia, where you have the unison attacks, but instead of being 4 attacks that may turn into something unique, it starts out as a compound skill, which is super cool. There's also army scenarios, duels that were added from the Kickstarter campaign. Overall, a lot of really cool things added that, again, having never played Suikoden, I find incredibly interesting. Jumping over to the aesthetic side of the game, though, is where things really get fun for me, because as a fan of things like Final Fantasy VI and Golden Sun, the audio and visual stylings are just like right up my alley. The sprite work is clean and crisp against the more high-definition hand-drawn backgrounds in both town and combat scenarios. It's so clean that sometimes it feels a little too good, which then gets me thinking about what a future Golden Sun game could achieve with a style like this. The individual designs of the characters are also incredibly fantastic. Each character is unique and just so dang cool to look at. God, I just love it so much. The designs do such a great job at showcasing the character's culture, backgrounds, personality. Each one is distinct and memorable. And then there's the soundtrack. As I mentioned, this takes me back to my favorites of Golden Sun and Final Fantasy VI. Well, there's a very good reason for that. The soundtrack is composed by a powerhouse team, including Michiko Naraku from the Wild Arms series and Valis 3, Akira Yamaoka from the Silent Hill franchise, and the literal king of RPGs himself, Motoi Sakuraba from Golden Sun, Star Ocean, Tales, and like so much more. This soundtrack is a masterful blend of compositions that really resonated with me long after I set down the controller. If I could get the game's soundtrack on vinyl, I would be just like over the moon. It's one of the better soundtracks I've heard in the last decade. Granted, most of what I've played in the last decade has been like 25 plus years old. That says something, right? On the other side of things though, I have a few complaints. One that I have heard a lot from others in my space is about the background blur that shows up from time to time. I get that it's an aesthetic choice, I really do, but I play these games to really enjoy the scenery, and what good is all that detailed art if it's blurred to the point where no one can see it, unless you're like right on top of it. Another is that you can't save on the overworld. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that having the ability to save anywhere, like a Pokemon game, is 100% the best way to do game saves. It basically incentivizes save spamming, and that's just not fun. But to not have the ability to save outside of towns or dungeons, it somehow feels worse. I have lost countless hours in the past to like very poorly positioned save points. Baten Kaitos, Tales of Symphonia, any RPG that has required me to find a save point that I just didn't think I was going to go into a boss battle before. It's just annoying, and that could have saved me so much heartache if I had just had the ability to like save on the world map even. Just save on the world map. So I've learned during my time playing though, and actively researching for this video, that this was an active design choice by the team in order to respect Murayama's vision. I guess this is as good a time as any to mention this too. Yoshitaka Murayama passed away on the 6th of February 2024 from complications of an ongoing illness, meaning that he didn't even get to see his magnum opus through to completion. That right there is one of the big reasons I wanted to like put my everything into this game. This is the final game from the creator of the Suikoden franchise, like the original Suikoden. This is his final game, his final work, and because of that, I really wanted to give it the time and attention it deserved. Being an RPG of this pedigree, one of the most standout features is the narrative depth. Eiyuden Chronicle weaves a tale of political intrigue, betrayal, and redemption that rivals even the best in its genre. And I feel like I can pretty confidently say that based off just the number of games I've played that have a bit of a political background, like Valkyrie Chronicle, Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy. There's probably a lot of other ones out there, like the original Suikoden, that I've not touched yet, so take what I say with a grain of salt. The story itself takes place in the land of Alran and focuses on the rising tension between the powerful imperial country of Galdean and the League of Nations. In terms of main characters, there are technically three: Noah, Sane, and Marissa. Noah is your typical chipper young man from a quiet border village who joins a small peacekeeping military unit known as the Watch. The group are tasked with taking on a joint mission between the League of Nations and Galdean Empire, and on that mission they discover a powerful primal lens, which unbeknownst to him, would eventually become the spark of war between the League and the Empire. Joining this mission is our second protagonist, Sane. As a character, he's exceptionally gifted, placed in command of a company of his peers, and sent on an expedition to find said ancient rune lens. Noah and Sane become fast friends, but of course that's not meant to last. Finally, there's Marissa. Marissa is a young woman raised by the Guardians, which are a clan that protects the forests. Since being taken in by a Guardian family while she was a little girl, Marissa has soaked up their teachings and traditions and is prepared to fulfill her duty. She has a friendly smile, but in battle, she shows the true countenance of a warrior. And of course, there's the expansive cast of characters mentioned previously, the 100 heroes. Keeping in mind that I haven't played the original Suikoden series, the inclusion of so many party members reminds me a lot of how the party system worked in Chrono Cross. Some characters were clearly relevant to the story, and others were a skeleton of a clown. Despite its homage to classic RPG tropes, Eiyuden Chronicle comes out on the other side feeling fresh and relevant, in a time where action RPGs like Final Fantasy XVI and Tales of Arise have become the norm. Its modern sensibilities shine through in a way where it thoughtfully delivers the story, its diverse of cast, and its innovative yet not overcrowded gameplay mechanic. This also isn't a game that sugarcoats things. You are constantly being faced with themes of sacrifice, redemption, and the enduring power of hope in a hopeless time. Themes that will drive the heroes forward in their quest to liberate Alran from the grip of tyranny. You will be asked to make the difficult choices as you go, knowing that what you choose will shape the course of your journey and determine the fate of the world. Yeah, no pressure or anything. When all is said and done, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is absolutely one of my favorite retro revival RPGs released in recent memory. Comparing it to games like Sea of Stars and Chained Echoes, I truly think it beats the heck out of them. And yes, I know they're different styles of RPGs, so take my opinion as just that, my opinion. I'm still on the fence as to whether it's better than the first Octopath Traveler, though. Octopath Traveler was basically my coming to Jesus moment when it came to modern RPGs. Whether you're a longtime fan of the Suikoden series or a newcomer like me who doesn't want to break the bank trying to hunt down physical copies of the Suikoden franchise, Eiyuden Chronicle is an absolute gem of an RPG that I think is truly going to stand the test of time. I am still kind of salty about the performance on the Switch, though. I mean, come on, you're telling me that this 7-year-old piece of underpowered hardware can't handle a new modern RPG? My Switch caught fire again. Just gonna set that down here. And they say JRPGs won't take care of you.